Sassy ass. I've had many creepy encounters, but this particular situation, I actually feared for my life. This happened like 16 years ago. Oh my god, I'm old. I was maybe 13, but I looked older. I developed early, so I had a nice figure and assets, to put things politely. I had beautiful, long hair, clear skin, and I'm 5'10". Being as young as I was, and fairly sheltered, I wasn't aware of how appealing my features may be to some. I lived in a large apartment building with my family right off of Main Street in my city, a short skip from anywhere, really, including the grocery store. This particular day, my mom asked if I didn't mind walking to the store to grab a few items to complete dinner. I was happy to go on a short walk. It was summertime, so I was wearing a thin strapped tank top and shorts. Nothing immodest, but it didn't hide my figure, although there is no attire that qualifies as an invitation for this type of attention. To get to the grocery store, I could walk all the way around on the sidewalk of this busy street, crossing through intersections, or I could take a shortcut that would take me through the train station, across the street from my building, over the train tracks that ran between the station and behind the shopping plaza where the market was. I would just round the building until I'd be in front of the plaza. In my young mind, this seemed the better, safer route. The fact that I'd be alone and out of sight only momentarily never crossed my mind. Pretty much as soon as I stepped inside, I felt a glare blaring into me. I turned to see a man who was at least in his early 20s staring at me with a stupid smile. I ignored him and began grabbing the few items I needed to get. I noticed that he was following me down some of the same aisles as I shopped, but I saw him exit while I was checking out, so I didn't think any more of it. I had to walk the entire length of the plaza to the other end before I'd have to round the corner and cross the tracks. Just as I turned the corner out of sight, a car pulls up next to me. There are two men inside, one of which was the creeper who followed me around inside of the store. He says, "Hey girl, wanna ride?" I ignore them and keep walking. "We can give you a ride, maybe have some fun." I had no idea what to do. I firmly said, "No," to which he replied, "Don't be a dumb bitch." I never stopped walking, but I didn't know what to do. At this point, the passenger opens the door, which was on the opposite side from me. So I said, "No, why would I ever want to go with you?" At this point, the passenger closes his door and says, "Forget it, man. We don't want to deal with her sassy ass." And they peel out, talking to each other about what a pain in the ass I'd end up being. I ran home crying like any 13-year-old girl would do, and I never crossed those train tracks or walked anywhere again until we moved.
I used to live in this house.
I used to live in a beautiful yellow house on the East Coast with my family. My father moved us around a lot as kids, but at the time that I was around 12 or 13, we were fixing to move into this one. It was an old house, almost a century old. There was a lot of manual labor to be done before we could bring our belongings over. My grandmother owned a home right down the street, a massive 6-bedroom, and she let us sleep there while we did the work necessary to get our house ready. The yellow house was naked and ugly on the inside. So far, the focus had been gutting the basement and getting rid of all the 70s wallpaper and shag carpet. All we brought over so far was some cutlery for impromptu meals and fix-up supplies. It gave off a creepy vibe. The previous owner, an older woman, had died in the home due to her age. The realtor was obligated to tell us that when we bought it. I was 13 or maybe 12. I'm not sure. Either way, I was a bit behind the curve on self-confidence. I had, and still have now at 20, a massive anxiety problem. I got a twinge of discomfort when my mother told me, "Baby, stay here for a little bit. I have to bring your brother to your grandmother's. The doors are all locked. Just lock the front one behind me." I'm not sure how long it took for what happened to happen between then and my mother leaving. It had to have been 20 minutes or so. My grandmother wasn't very far, but my mother loved to talk, so the simplest visit could take upwards of an hour. I was in the kitchen when a man drove into my driveway, used the key to get into my front door, and walked in. He was about mid-40s, but possibly younger and with shit hygiene, a huge head of curly brown hair and a long beard, and wearing a getup of cargo shorts and a blue Hawaiian shirt. I don't remember his shoes, but then I wasn't really looking at the ground. I was, however, looking like a deer in the headlights. I'll never forget the words he said first. "Oh, it's okay. My grandma used to live here. You look so afraid. It's okay." He was inching into the apartment slowly. With some quick thinking, I grabbed a little knife from our cutlery drawer and hid it behind my back, praying I wouldn't have to use it. I didn't know how to use it. "This is my house now. You can't be in here." He was ignoring me. "Just over there is where we kept the Christmas tree," he said, pointing towards the living room. "And that's a hell of a stove. I used to cook all the time on that stove." Still getting closer into the home, inch by inch. I wanted to cry. I wanted to pull out my phone and call my mom to come back. I wanted my mom to pull into the driveway and fix it. I flashed the knife. "Get out or I'm calling the police." He put his hands up like a surrender and backed out the way he came, facing me the entire time. "Thanks for your time," he said as he walked out the door. I burst into tears as he drove off, unsure of what even really happened. I called my mom, and she, of course, flipped out and got home within 5 minutes. I don't know if the guy was actually an old resident of the house. He had a key after all, related to the woman who passed, or a mixture of both with pedophilic intentions. Either way, creepy Hawaiian shirt guy, let's not meet.
Banging in the wee hours.
Thanks to various circumstances, this last weekend was my first home alone weekend in 6 months, and as it turned out, I'd A, partially forgotten how to handle it, and B, had been reading way too many creepy stories, making going to bed a bit scarier than normal. Since I sleep with my door open, I have a clear view of the hallway and part of the stairs, which end right by the front door. If my bedroom were in the front of the house, my head would be almost directly above the front door. So it's nearing 2 a.m. on Sunday morning. I'm finally in bed, having stayed up late watching TV. My older cat is somewhere downstairs, and my younger cat has just hopped up next to me and gotten comfortable. I'm just drifting off to sleep when I hear a bang on the front door. My first thought is that someone is trying to break in, followed by, what if they need help? Then logic kicks in and I realize that I live at the end of a cul-de-sac in a quiet neighborhood. Too rural for someone to be looking for an escape from the cops or a mugger, and definitely too urban for car trouble, which leaves an attempted break-in. I've just managed to convince myself that it was a dream when I hear another bang, bang, bang. My older cat comes racing into my room, and at this point I'm as stiff as a board, going, "Oh God, I'm home alone. Someone's trying to break in. I'm screwed." There's a cat and creaky floorboards between me and the nearest weapon, and I've got a badly balanced door and several more feet of very noisy floorboards to get past just to get to the top of the stairs. In short, I'm alone, defenseless, and scared out of my mind. And then, nothing. For the rest of the night, I fell asleep eventually and dragged myself out of bed 8 hours later. My mom gets home a bit after 4, and I say nothing, too focused on getting the last of my chores done so I can go take a nap. I still haven't told her what happened 2 nights ago. It wasn't the first time someone's tried to get inside when I was the only one awake to hear it. It probably won't be the last, but it was by far the loudest and possibly the scariest. Update: I told my mom the day after I posted this, at the urging of several commenters,